So today, guys, we got to test out the new exotic marksman rifle, the Dread Addict, and I will tell you guys, this weapon has so much potential, but it falls a little bit short because it definitely needs some tuning, and I'll talk to you guys about that right now. Now, I will tell you guys, the PTS is only on PC, so when I get on PC, typically I do use mouse and keyboard, and I will tell you, even with mouse and keyboard, the recoil of this weapon was very tough. And what it reminded me of is when the Bighorn finally made it over to console, a lot of people didn't really use it the way it should be used because, let's admit, it's a little tough to control the recoil. And if you want to control the recoil of certain weapons, you have to use talents like braced, you have to add weapon handling, and in return, you lose maybe some headshot damage. Maybe you can't stack as much crit chance or crit damage that you would like. And when that happens, players tend to just write off a weapon and just, you know what, I'd rather just use maybe the Mantis or the Nemesis or another marksman rifle. And the Dread is just an exotic SVD. And if you guys remember, the SVD when the first raid came out was the #1 used marksman rifle. It barely had any recoil, and then they buffed it. And when you zoom in, it is a pain to control. And a lot of people just went away from the SVD. You hardly see a lot of players running it. But I'm gonna tell you, if you guys remember, in the first raid, back then, everybody was using the SVD if you were running some type of aces and eights build. And people just pretty much went away from it because the recoil got so strong that there were just better options. And I really feel that this is what's gonna happen to this exotic if it doesn't get some type of tweak. So let's get into the weapon itself. Let's just look over the total damage on this build. We're sitting about 395,000 damage, 260 RPM, so it is a faster firing marksman rifle. It only has a 10-round mag, and that is one of the big downfalls of this weapon. So just keep that in mind as we keep breaking this weapon down. Now, the core attributes, obviously, marksman rifle, headshot damage, and then the attribute is the one we typically go for that has damage to targets out of cover. So that is a plus, right? Now, the exotic talent on here called Full Stop is actually really impressive, and I actually liked it a lot. So Full Stop, what it does is shooting enemies, it builds a stack to a cap of 20. Now headshots grant 2 stacks. Each stack grants 2% weapon damage and 5% headshot damage. Now that's an additional 40% weapon damage at max stack and 100% headshot damage. But now on reload, it clears all stacks and you gain 5% of your max armor as temp armor for 10 seconds for each stack removed. Now, typically, I feel like you're gonna run this on more of a red build, so that extra armor really isn't gonna do anything for you unless you're not proccing this the way it should be procced. Because if you look at the bottom, it says headshot kills with Dread, restore all bullets in the magazine. This does not count as a reload. So that means you can constantly keep up 40% weapon damage and 100% headshot damage if you can get those headshot kills. But with 10 bullets in the mag, it gets a little tough. Now the mods on there, they have 40% headshot damage, 15% weapon handling, 10% stability, and 10% crit chance. Now I will tell you, even with that 15% weapon handling and that 10% stability, it is a pain to control. Yes, what we're gonna do is we're gonna head to the range and I will show you guys like how much recoil on targets that are close. So just imagine targets that are far. So this target's about 25 meters out, and just look, every time I'm hitting, I'm having to pull down on the mouse to really control it, and even then, it gets a little tough. Like I'm literally having to really control it. And just imagine trying to do this on controller for all of you controller players, which I'm a primary controller player when I'm on PlayStation 5, and I personally like playing with controller even on PC, but like I was testing this with mouse and keyboard and controlling, you just look how the recoil pops it up so far. And I feel like with something firing so fast, you might never really gain the benefit from the damage from this exotic. And then that's gonna make it a useless exotic, right? Like it's gonna be one of those exotics that we go collect and then we just throw in our stash. And that's what I will tell you guys. That's what I'm worried about with this exotic, that it has such potential that if maybe they tweaked the recoil on the weapon itself and maybe even added 2 more rounds, it would definitely make it more viable. Because to be honest, guys, right now, if I were to run this, say if I ran it with my aces and eights build, which it works really good with because of the way aces procs so often, I probably wouldn't, right? I'd rather throw the Mantis on. I'd rather throw a Nemesis on. It just would work a lot better. And it's funny because I actually had weapon handling on the knee pad. So I had an additional 8% weapon handling. And don't forget, you get some weapon handling from running the specialization from sharpshooter. So there are a couple places I can add an additional 16% weapon handling. I could probably put 8% on the chest along with the headshot damage, and I could put 8% on the backpack. But then it kind of gets rid of me trying to add some more crit chance, maybe, you know, like maybe some crit chance, crit damage, so that way I could proc those too. So that is the downfall. And I would tell you guys, just like I just switched right now, I'd probably just switch to the Mantis, right? Like this build isn't fully optimized, and if I was to optimize and run the same aces and eights build that I run on my PlayStation 5 account, I one-shot these. It's just the build that I currently have are pieces that they gave me, so I'm kind of putting things together. But that's the one thing, that's the one downfall that I'm seeing with this build is, why should I switch from a Mantis or a Nemesis for a weapon that, yes, it fires a lot faster, but the recoil is so tough to control that it's just not worth it to really sacrifice things on my build just to create more weapon handling so I can kind of control it, right? I just feel like they need to really tweak the SVDs in general. And if they just want to do this one exotic, they can. It definitely needs some tweaking, because at least I can already tell you on console, this will not be used as much as it should be. And I would love to see this weapon used. It definitely, the talent is nice. I like the exotic talent. I like how it works. But having such high recoil and then that mag size only being 10, it's like two huge negatives that are kind of outweighing the positives on the build. But one other thing, guys, this is not what the exotic will look like. Just so you guys keep that in mind. The exotic is just a prototype. This is not what this exotic sniper is going to look like. Obviously, the skins have not been put out. All the exotics look weird. None of them actually look like, I think the mask might actually look like it, but I think all the exotics don't actually look like what they're going to look like when they come out. So once those do come out, hopefully they look a little bit nicer than this, because this looks like a broken down SVD with nothing on it, right? So hopefully that gets changed. But so I want to know, what do you guys think about this weapon after me explaining to you guys my pros and cons for it? I really think if they could tweak those things, more people will more likely use it. If they don't, it's just going to be an exotic that goes to our stash and just collects a lot of dust. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up the video here. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the love. I'll see you in the next one. Nothing But Skills is out.